Good morning. My name is Harold Martin. I have the great distinction and pleasure of serving as Chancellor here at North Carolina A&T State University. And we're delighted to welcome you to the campus of North Carolina A&T State University, to Governor Pat McCrory and the Teacher Advisory Committee, North Carolina legislators and elected officials, North Carolina superintendents, members of the State Board of Education, North Carolina's Distinguished Teachers of the Year, and business and community leaders. We are honored to have you on our beautiful campus. And certainly to our North Carolina A&T State University senior administrators and students from our School of Education, we're delighted to have you join us today as well. As a land-grant, doctoral research-intensive institution, land-grant institution, we take great pride in the contributions we have made and continue to make to the state of North Carolina, its educational system and workforce. And over the years, A&T has adapted its curriculum, its teaching methodologies, and we've introduced outstanding new degree programs to ensure that our students receive an education that allows them to be competitive in a changing world. The university's vision to be recognized as a preeminent university and a school of choice for outstanding high-achieving students who are inspired by teaching, learning, civic engagement, transformative research, and creative scholarship to solve societal problems continues to drive us each and every day. Our School of Education plays an important part in educating, mentoring, and developing its students to become exceptional teachers who are catalysts for learning and teaching. We prepare and instill in these students the next generation of effective teachers and school personnel, a lifelong passion for education and public service. I'm excited to have Governor McCrory here today to share with us his vision for education, his continuing commitment towards finding solutions for our educational system and the overall well-being and growth of our state. I have known Governor McCrory for many years now. He is passionate about the revitalization of our state and dedicated to its citizens, and we're delighted again to have him on our campus. He just shared with me as we were preparing to walk in this morning that he has included in his budget today, and it's announced yesterday, a scholarship program for returning veterans that will allow veterans who are returning to our state have access to scholarships that support their continued education for higher education in our state, the community college system and the University of North Carolina. We're absolutely delighted that this initiative has taken front and center stage. It's also part of the governor's budget, and we're delighted that that will support outstanding students who continue to gain education here in our state. Please join me in receiving our governor, Governor Pat McCrory.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. It's good to be back home in Guilford County. Let me make a personal comment about Harold Martin, this great chancellor, and talk personally to the students here at A&T University. You've got the best in Harold Martin. I've known him for over 30 years. My dad, Matt McCrory, who was an engineer right down the street at Gilbarco, introduced the two of us because my dad was on his advisory board here at North Carolina A&T University. And my dad used to tell the two of us when we were both young then, Harold, that every one of us have a divinity within us, an opportunity within us, certain skills within us. And whatever we have to do, we have to all fulfill our potential. And my dad repeated this to myself and Harold time and time again, that every individual has this divinity within us, and we need to fulfill that potential. And that's our calling, is to fulfill and to see that potential and have a purpose in life and make a difference. And I never would have realized 30 years later when my dad used to tell the two of us that he would now be chancellor of this great university and then I'd be governor of the greatest state in the United States of America. And what an honor it is for me to stand on the stage with such a distinguished individual in our state as Harold Martin. We're also right here in the heart of Teacher Appreciation Week. So if we're going to fulfill our potential and ensure that every member of the next generation and future generations in North Carolina fulfill their potential, we can't just appreciate teachers for 1 week throughout each year. We've got to appreciate teachers for generations to come every week of the year. And this is the beginning of that process, to appreciate teachers and realize that teachers have such an important role in our future economic development and the future development of every student in North Carolina. Now, teachers personally right here in Guilford County have made a big impact on my life. Ruth Revels, who many of you saw on TV commercials during last year, she's going to pin a gold star on me. She's now in her early 80s and still extremely active, in fact, active in my administration, head of Indian Cultural Affairs. There's a road named after her husband here in Greensboro, the Lonnie Revels Drive. And Ruth played a special part as a role model teacher for me at Ragsdale High School. Roger Chance, who I just touched base with for the first time over email in recent months, who was my history and civics teacher, who really got me ingrained in understanding government. In fact, he wrote my speech for me when I ran for student body president at Ragsdale High School. Roger, if you're listening, hello. You've still made an impact on me many, many years later. And the late T.G. Madison, who was my principal at Ragsdale High School here in Guilford County, who just passed away within the past week and a half. His heart is still with me. My hearts and prayers are with his family, but T.G. Madison right here in Guilford County had a big impact on many, many generations of kids who were taught under him and where he was a leader in a school. And we've also realized that principals are such an important part of our schools in supporting teachers. So T.G., we're here in your spirit because you've made a difference to so many people. We're also here to honor a promise that we made just a few short months ago at Ragsdale High School, where I was with leaders of the state, where we announced a plan where no teacher in North Carolina in the next 2 years will make less than $35,000 a year. But we also promised that more announcements would come in the future. And today, those announcements are about to happen, because we've been listening to teachers, we've been listening to principals, we've been listening to superintendents, and my gosh, they give a lot of feedback, let me tell you. They are not hesitant to give you feedback. And we've been listening to public officials, because we all care about education, we all care about teachers, and we want our schools to succeed. And so in listening to this feedback, while also going through the very, very difficult process of going through a very, very tough budget process with our budget director, which I've been doing about every day for the past 4 weeks, we had to make some very difficult decisions. And in making these difficult decisions, our priority is on education. And therefore, I'd like to make several announcements, 4 major announcements on what we're going to put on our budget regarding education. Actually, 5 announcements regarding education from pre-K to 12. The first thing is this, is one piece of feedback that I hear from superintendents, and I hear from Aldona Voss, my Secretary of Health and Human Services, and I hear from parents all over North Carolina, is that if we're going to have successful students, we've got to expand early childhood education. It is so important. If a student starts behind in school, they usually end up being behind throughout their career and throughout their life. And therefore, in my budget, we will provide an additional $3.6 million to expand early childhood education in North Carolina. The second announcement we're making in our budget is this, is that we were hoping, and we're still hoping, to have a transformation to hard book textbooks to more digital technology. And we put more money into digital technology last year, and we're doing it this year. But I've also heard from these superintendents behind me and many in the audience that this transformation is not going to just take place overnight. We still need textbooks. And they gave me very strong feedback that textbooks were underfunded throughout North Carolina last year, and it put a tremendous strain on schools and teachers and principals throughout North Carolina. June Atkinson, you gave me this feedback very strong. She lobbied me, and so did the Lieutenant Governor, because he's heading up a digital future for textbooks. But it just doesn't happen overnight, because we got to do it right. We got to do it right. So to make sure students this coming year have the materials they need to have a good education, our budget will double state funding for textbooks, raising the total amount to $46 million in this year's budget for textbooks. We think that's good news. Now, we announced base pay for 1 through 7 years of experience for teachers at Ragsdale High School several months ago. And there's been concern about whether or not we could make that promise because the budget has been very tough. So the third announcement is we fully intend to keep that promise of this new base pay for teachers, where there will be no teacher in North Carolina within the next 2 years that will make less than $35,000 a year, regardless of where they live and work in the teaching profession in North Carolina. We're going to continue to follow through with that commitment based upon this budget. But after making that announcement, boy, did I hear from a lot of other teachers. And they said, what about us? And believe me, we knew they would ask that, but we've been through the budget, and we've been making decisions since that point in time, and actually making some very tough decisions within my administration not to fill positions, to save money, so we could have money available for all teachers and state employees in North Carolina. So I'm pleased to announce that my budget, which I'll be presenting to the legislature in the next week, we're recommending that teachers can expect to see an average raise of 2%. And of course, with those receiving the base pay, those will receive up to possibly 7% if they have up to 7 years of teaching. So every teacher will get, teachers can expect to see an average raise of 2% in addition to the base pay of those teachers getting 7%. And that's good. We'd like to do more, but that's a start. I'd also like to say for all state employees will receive a flat raise of $1,000, including benefits, which will be an average of 2% for state employees. There's a special emphasis. One reason we wanted to give all $1,000, including benefits, is that those who are making less than $50,000, it'll be a much more positive impact on them. So every state employee will have $1,000 more, including benefits, to help them. Again, I know that's not as much as you want or need, but it's a beginning. And we're fulfilling that commitment for all state employees because they deserve this money. They're working hard. They're under a lot of work, stress. They're putting in incredible hours, and we're trying to do everything we can in tough budget circumstances to put more money in their pocket, and it starts with this budget right now. Now, I think the most important announcement we're making today is for the long term, because we can do these short-term raises for state employees and for teachers, but if we don't have a long-term plan, especially in the education community, we're not going to have teachers who commit to education for a lifetime, and we're not going to be able to recruit great students like we have here at North Carolina A&T to say, you know what, I want to study to become an educator. I want to study to become a teacher. This is my profession. This is my calling. This is fulfilling my potential. And so therefore, we need to develop a long-term plan on how do we plan to pay and in what method do we plan to reward the teaching profession for generations to come in North Carolina. And we've been working with the superintendents and the principals, and Eric Buchan, who's my great education advisor. I'm so pleased to have him here. He's been listening. I've been listening to you. And we're announcing a career pathway for teachers, a new model on how we reward the teaching profession in North Carolina. And again, while the short term is important, we must look to the future to innovate our archaic teacher pay scale in North Carolina that's been around for generations. The current pay plan is old, it's outdated, and it doesn't frankly work in the 21st century. We're paying based upon 20th century platform and guidelines. We're now in the 21st century, and let's come up with a system that meets that criteria. We have no long-term pay plan for our teacher. and that ends today in our budget. That's why we are proposing a change to the professional pay schedule that will allow teachers to earn more sooner based upon a variety of factors. This career pathways for teachers will focus on several areas. One is it will reward experience, which is very important. The more experience you have, the more wisdom you have, and the more you can help other teachers. It will also reward performance, because performance does matter. I don't care what school you went to. We all knew who the good teachers were. The principals knew who the good teachers were. The students knew who the good teachers were. The parents knew who the good teachers were, because some, frankly, just performed at a higher level and had greater results. And we need to take in consideration performance. The other thing that we have to consider in this future career pathways plan is hard to staff schools. Frankly, there are some schools in North Carolina that are hard to recruit good teachers, and our pay scale should adjust based upon that, just like the private sector does. And the other thing that we're looking at is market-based subjects and leaderships when determining salaries. Let me explain that. For example, if you teach a subject that is in high demand, like chemistry or math, where we actually have some of the highest turnover, because the private sector often steals our math and science and chemistry teachers because of the high demand, and they get more money outside the private sector, then I want to give the flexibility to our superintendents and to our principals to pay those teachers more based upon the market demand. That's the way our system works. When I was a former recruiter in the private sector, some years electrical engineers would make more than civil engineers. And some years a business grad might make more than a liberal arts grad. And some years an accounting grads might make more than an IS grad. We're going to apply the same standards to the teaching profession based upon the market demands for each individual school system. We're bringing the decisions back to the local level and not having all the decisions made in Raleigh. I want to give these men and women flexibility to meet the market forces. Another thing we're looking for is leaders in school. One thing that I've recognized, and I recognize this in a private sector when I worked for primarily an engineering company, is we had a lot of engineers, Harold, Mr. Chancellor. And the only way you could get promoted in many companies as an engineer is you had to become a manager or supervisor. Well, that often meant the engineer quit doing engineering work, and yet we wanted to reward them for engineering. I think the same thing has often happened in the teaching profession. The only way you can make more money in the teaching profession is become an administrator. Well, I don't think that's right, because some people are born to be a teacher, not necessarily an administrator, and their natural talents, their potential is for teaching. So we're coming up within our plan is if you are a leader in your school and you can mentor other teachers, you can earn more money. Isn't that right? So it shouldn't be just the principal earning more money, but we have an opportunity in this new pay plan where the top teachers can earn more money who are natural leaders in the teaching profession. Also, if you have an advanced degree in the field that you teach and stay in the classroom as opposed to leaving for the private sector or going into administration, our new plan says your pay can be increased. You can make more money. Your salary will increase. If you teach in a hard-to-staff school, you can now get some more money, because that's what the market demands, and that's where the students need you. This is all about the students and attracting the best teachers we can to help the students. But let me be clear. Let me also make a very clear point, and that is this. If a teacher is not meeting the needs of the students, of other teachers, is not a team member with the principal, and is not showing the results, then that teacher will not get automatic pay increases as they've done in the past. So the criteria are different. This plan encourages and rewards teachers who make the most out of their career and ensures that every student has the chance to fulfill their potential. In terms of the plan specifics, we're going to let more decision-making happen at the local level, not inside the Beltline in Raleigh. That's our goal, because it's the people at the local level, closest to the teachers, closest to the parents, closest to the students, that we think can make the best decisions. Now, I want to reward individual teachers in the future and make them and encourage them to stay in the teaching profession. And I want to introduce several of them in this room. Is Pam Foster in the room? Pam, I want you to stand up. You've got an incredible background. Pam Foster is a teacher with 9 years of experience at Forest Pines Drive Elementary School in Raleigh, our state capital. She is a nationally board certified teacher, and she teaches 4th grade at her school. On the professional pay schedule and through career pathways, which we want to implement, Pam can earn up to $14,750 more for her years of experience, her national board certification, and for her willingness to mentor other teachers as a teacher leader in her school. Let's give Pam a round of applause. Thank you very much, Pam. Another great example is a teacher like Alton Campbell. Alton, will you stand up? It's great seeing you. Alton is a 6th grade math and science teacher. We desperately need you. It's great to see you, and I want to thank you. I needed you in 6th grade. I need you now at times. You teach at Aden Middle School in Greenville, great town of Greenville, North Carolina. With 5 years of experience, he is the co-chair of the school improvement team and holds an advanced degree in the field that he teaches. I mean, this is the best of the best. On the professional pay schedule and through career pathways provided by this program and NC Competes, he currently earns $30,800 a year. But he can now earn up to, if we implement this plan, $12,900 more for being a highly effective teacher in a hard-to-staff school, teaching 2 market-driven subjects and serving as a teacher leader in a school. These are the type of people we need to stay in education. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, one final example is Rebecca Bishop. Rebecca, will you stand up, please? I had the privilege of visiting her 3rd grade class at Franklinton Elementary School in Franklin County. What a great time I had with you and principal. You got a great principal, too. She's so energetic, and I could tell the teachers love her. And she's passionate, and she lobbied me on several of these items when visiting the school, by the way. She is not a passive individual at all. Rebecca has been teaching for 13 years and is a national board certified and has several leadership roles at that school. I noticed the extremely good team effort that you have in your school system. Under career pathways, if we implement this program, she has the chance to make over $20,000 more a year. Doesn't she deserve that? This is what we need. Thank you very much. Now, where do we go from here? What are the next steps? Well, this year's budget, which I have approved and will be submitting to the legislature, has $9 million in the budget for 8 pilot school districts in North Carolina, giving each district the flexibility to match career pathways for teachers to their needs. 8 additional projects will be budgeted for the following year. And based upon feedback and benchmarking and lessons learned from these pilot programs, because you have to test what works and what doesn't work, and I've heard this from the superintendents, CPT can be rolled out statewide by the 2017-18 school year. So we're gradually rolling it out with final rollout in 2017-18. We have started budgeting now for the full statewide implementation of CPT in 2017-18. And let me make a special point. As governor, all future revenue that we come in with this growing economy in North Carolina, and is finally starting to grow, it will be prioritized for this program ahead of any new spending and any future tax changes after the year 2016. This will be our priority to make this program work. How much the full implementation of CPT will cost depends on the level of the base professional pay and the earned bonuses. This will be developed along with our legislators as we get results of the pilot programs and work with all the parties represented here today, and we have already begun working on this process. We're going to keep intact our Teachers Advisory Commission. I'm going to have quarterly meetings with our superintendents. We're going to be meeting with our legislative committees, which are a very, very important part of this process. but we're going to act with a sense of urgency, and this is not about politics, it's about doing the right thing. This is for the future of our kids. I'm pleased to first and foremost announce that the people alongside me here on this stage and many in the audience have announced support of this plan. But there are some people that couldn't make it here today that are also very supportive, and I did want to mention several of those. First is Jim Whitehurst, who's been a great partner as our Vice Chairman of Economic Development for the state of North Carolina. He is also the current president of the North Carolina Chamber of Commerce, and he's one of the biggest employers in North Carolina. He's the CEO of Red Hat, and he's extremely supportive of this plan because he recognizes if Red Hat's going to continue to succeed here in North Carolina and grow in North Carolina, he's got to have talented people come join him. Bill Kobe, who couldn't make it here today, but he's my appointment as chairman of the State Board of Education, working very closely with June Atkinson. You've been a great team, a great bipartisan team, and I appreciate that. But Bill Kobe is extremely supportive of this plan. I've had wonderful conversations in the past 2 days with Senator Jerry Tillman, who is chairman of the Senate Education Committee. And he is going to be very, very important for this feedback and going through his committee and other committees. Speaker Tom Tillis, I've been talking to for the past several weeks. I just talked to him this morning. One of his representatives will be coming up speakily to talk about how Tom feels about this plan. But this is going to be a major priority of his during his final year as Speaker of the House. Now, this doesn't mean that this will be a slam dunk. This is going to be a tough battle, partly due to the tough budget circumstances, and frankly due to we have so many different opinions on education from both the right and the left, all people with good intentions. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not about the right and the left. This is about doing what's right for the future of North Carolina. We welcome improvements to this plan. We welcome suggestions from this plan from our legislators, from our superintendents, but the basic concept of this plan must stay intact. And I look forward to working with all of you, because if we implement this plan, I think this will be a role model plan for the rest of the nation, because I do not know of any other plan which emphasizes performance, which emphasizes market, which emphasizes experience, and which has a long-term financial plan to help pay for it. North Carolina is going to lead the way. This is the North Carolina way, and we're not going to let the critics on all sides deny this opportunity. We're going to move forward, and we're going to work together to make this happen, because my goal as governor is to give the next generation and to give every one of these teachers the opportunity to fulfill their potential and to carry on with their purpose in life. Thank you, and God bless North Carolina, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning. My name is Heath Morrison. I'm the very proud superintendent of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District, and very proud to be amongst many superintendents here today to stand with our governor on the announcement of what we think is the most important priority of our state. The most important priority of our state, enhancing the profession of teaching and the pay for our teachers across our state. We all know the data. We have seen it readily over the past several weeks, months. We are 46th in the country in teacher pay, 48th in the country in starting teacher pay. When you adjust for inflation, our teachers in North Carolina are being paid the same as they were 40 years ago. We must do better. We will do better. As superintendents, we're proud to stand with the governor today because he has actively involved us in this plan. He has reached out and he has listened. Unlike other times when we get the plan and we react to it, the governor proactively has asked us for our opinion, asked us for our advice, and we are proud to be able to serve our governor and proud to serve the children of the state as we work together to enhance education across our entire state. We are proud because this plan allows us the opportunity to have voice. We're proud because this plan doesn't only address teacher pay, but it enhances the profession of teaching through leadership opportunities, allowing our talented teachers to stay in the classroom if that's the way that they choose for their own professional development. We're proud because this plan allows us local flexibility. And just as we're quick to say all the answers cannot be found in our nation's capital, nor can all the answers to improving education be found in our state's capital, we must have our local state working together to enhance the profession of teaching and learning. And that's really what we're here to do today. and it addresses the need to have an emergency and need to act now. There were 3 states last year that did not materialize a raise for teachers: South Dakota, West Virginia, and North Carolina. We cannot have another year where that happens, so thank you, Governor, for taking the leadership and announcing this plan today. Now, it's usual for someone to try to find a great quote to enhance what they're thinking about and what's in their heart, and I know Representative Horn will probably pull a Churchill quote out. I'm fond of Dr. King quotes myself, but I'm going to quote another very important individual and leader in our state. And this individual said that the reason that teaching is so important, it is the only profession that enhances every other profession, therefore allowing our economy to grow and our state to prosper. Those words were ushered by the North Carolina Teacher of the Year, James Ford, from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, Geringer High School. James, we honor you. James, we thank you for your service. You, Becky, Alton, and Pam, we thank you for your service because you serve and you do what we have to have our children prosper, and we thank you for that service. I often make this reference. When we think about service, we honor another profession that works tirelessly to keep our nation safe. We honor our military. We honor our military because they serve and they protect. And that's exactly what our teachers do. They serve the future. They protect our economy and our national interests by growing the next generation of folks that are going to work at Red Hat and lead our state. We need to change the conversation so that teaching and learning is the iconic profession of our time. Again, we honor you for your service. Now, as the governor said, over the next several days and weeks, there will be individuals who will say that this plan doesn't go far enough. There will be other individuals that will say that there are aspects of the plan that they have trouble with. And all those discussions will be important. But ultimately, we all need to rally behind the governor's vision. We need to rally about making a step forward positively for public education in our state. We are a state that doesn't like to talk about why we can't. We're a state that likes to talk about how we can. Governor, we're honored to be here with you today. Let's not only talk about how we can, let's go get it done.
Good morning. My name is Mark Edwards. I'm superintendent of the Mooresville Graded School District, and I'd like to start off by thanking the Mooresville Graded School District teachers for their great leadership, their great work, and all the teachers in this state. And our colleague superintendents, I know, join in thanking every teacher in North Carolina. We have hundreds, thousands of visitors that have come to Mooresville over the last several years from around the nation and around the world. And they come in looking at a digital conversion. They leave talking about the commitment and the great work that our teachers are doing. Without fail, they leave talking about the work that our teachers do. I'm excited about the governor's vision and the governor's plan. There are short-term needs that are being addressed. We would all like to see a bigger raise than 2%, but that is a step in the right direction. It's an important step. It's a forward step. We also have the long-term vision of a compensation framework that makes sense. We've looked at it, as Heath said, we've looked at it in detail, and there are immediate benefits, there are long-term benefits to this plan, and I think it ensures teachers an opportunity over their careers to advance, to be in a competitive occupation where they can live and have a good life. And so I think the benefits of immediate, the benefits of long-term. I'm most excited about the plan providing local autonomy to make the plan work, the resources with flexibility to meet the needs of individual school systems. Heath and I are great friends. There's a pretty big difference between Mooresville and Charlotte-Meck, mainly about 100,000 students or more than that. Bless you, Heath. But ultimately, there's flexibility, and we were talking to the governor about this. Just makes sense that Heath has different needs than we have, but we both have needs. Now we have a plan that provides Diane Frost in Asheboro the flexibility, or Jim Merrill in Wake County. And so this plan makes sense. The other thing about this plan that I'm excited about, and know that we have many leaders from the General Assembly here, that the idea behind it is let's work together and flesh out some of the details and make this work. We've had consternation for some time in North Carolina. It is time for us to join hands on behalf of our children and that we work together. I'm from a family of educators. My mother and father are both retired teachers. My wife is a teacher. My daughter is a teacher. My grandmother was a teacher, and my great-grandmother was a teacher. And I firmly believe that public education is the foundation of democracy. It is the foundation for the hope of this country. It is the foundation for prosperity in North Carolina. And let's join hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits, and let's work together. Let's preserve our great democracy and this great state. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Vanessa Harrison, President of AT&T North Carolina. I'm excited to be here today on behalf of BEST North Carolina and the North Carolina Business Education Committee on Education, because I and these other business leaders here today have a vested interest in the success of our students. Today's students are our employees, customers, and stockholders of tomorrow. Of all the components in a child's education, the teacher has the single greatest impact on the achievement other than their appearance. Outstanding teachers bring enthusiasm and knowledge and passion to the classroom in a way that makes a lasting difference in students' lives. They impact families, and they change future. That's why North Carolina needs outstanding teachers, and why we are here today to support this proposal for teacher compensation. This proposal lays out the path forward for our teachers. It starts with a professional pay schedule that would get teachers to a higher wage faster. This is important because we want our teachers to be able to focus on their students and not on whether they can pay their bills. The lifetime earnings of teachers will be significantly higher, and we hope that this pay will offset the lower teacher turnover, which will, in turn, help students have more consistency in their schools. Second part of the proposal, career pathways, is equally exciting. With this, we have a professional compensation plan that allows our most effective teachers to take on a leadership role in their schools and impact more students without leaving the classroom, and they will be compensated accordingly. As a business executive, I recognize that this transition to a career pathway model cannot happen overnight. So I appreciate that this proposal allows districts to opt into a career pathways model when and how they want over several years. This is a great day for education in North Carolina. Thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and the General Assembly, as well as our local and state education leaders who are working very hard to move our state forward in a way that will have a significant impact on our student access by supporting our teachers. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm June Atkinson, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, and this makes my second day in Greensboro. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to visit Moorhead Expressive Magnet Arts Elementary School, where I heard students read poems about why they love their teachers. And so today, I am representing 1.5 million children in our state who will someday say, thank you, Governor McCrory, for taking this bold step to have a plan and to address the needs of our teachers in our state. Thank you very much, sir. We also know that as we look forward to the future, that it really is important to hear the voices of our teachers and our other educators. So I thank you, Governor McCrory, for inviting the voices of the teachers to be at the table as this plan is being developed. It is important that as we look toward the future, that we keep our great teachers in our classrooms and we attract the very best to our state. And of course, in so doing that, it is important that local school districts have the flexibility to develop career pathways that will meet their needs. Because, as we say in public education, our big goal is to personalize education for every single child. So we need to have that theme throughout our entire educational system. And of course, as Governor McCrory mentioned, this is Teacher Appreciation Week. This plan will move us forward so that every day can be a Teacher Appreciation Day. But what a better week than this one to announce the plan that will help move North Carolina forward. It is important that, as it has been said, that we all join hands because the future of our state is in that balance. Thank you again, Governor McCrory.
My name is Craig Horn. I'm in the North Carolina House of Representatives, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of Speaker Tom Tillis. I spoke to him this morning. As a matter of fact, he sends greetings. Been a little busy the last couple of days, but so he wasn't able to get here this morning. I want to tell you, we've got a lot of people in this audience that are teachers, some that have been teachers, and some that will be teachers. So on behalf of the state legislature, the House, the Senate, and all the people of North Carolina, thank you. Thank you very much for your commitment to our kids and our future. We welcome you into the teaching profession. We want to encourage you, support you in every possible way. Today we heard the governor announce a vision for the future. How refreshing. Instead of being in the middle of a forest fire armed with a squirt gun, we're going to get out the fire hose and we're going to deal with the broader picture, the big issue. We're going to know where we're going so we can determine how we get there. How critical and how important, and certainly how refreshing. I want to tell you that starting next week, the legislature will reconvene. We will talk pretty much everything to death. We will hear from everyone. We will hear why we can and why we can't. But we need to hear from you that we must. And we need to hear from you how we're going to do this, how we are coming together to do this. We now have a plan in place. We're going to work on it. We're going to improve it. We're going to see pathways to the future. There's an old saying that goes, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And there is nowhere, and it's everywhere. Well, now we see where we're going. And now we'll be able to figure out how we get ourselves there. I couldn't possibly finish without saying, Winston Churchill once said, the empires of the future are the empires of the mind. It's the teachers in the classroom, the high-quality teachers, the highly effective teachers working together that are going to create the great minds of the future. We're going to cure cancer. We're going to send a man to Mars. We're going to have peace in this world. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to working with every one of you, particularly with the governor, and with all the superintendents, the teachers, the students, the parents across this state to set the pace. We are North Carolina strong, and I am very proud to be part of this. Thank you very much.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Dan Forrest. I want to say thank you for being here. Great crowd, a great group of people that are passionate about education, a great group of leaders. I'm going to talk just briefly about leadership and passion. First, Governor, thank you for your leadership on education and your passion for education. There is no place that the governor goes to speak that he's not talking about the importance of education in North Carolina. There's nobody in this room that doesn't want to see North Carolina as not just the education leader in America, but the education leader around the world. Representative Horn, thank you for your passion and leadership for education. Representative Horn travels not just around North Carolina meeting with teachers and leaders, he travels not just the country, but travels around the world talking about this subject of education and how we can improve it. Thank you for your passion for it. Superintendent Edwards, there is no more passionate superintendent in North Carolina than Mark Edwards. When he speaks at the state board meetings, everybody listens because they want to hear what he has to say. But behind that passion is great leadership. And leadership can be contagious. Leadership is something that we desire in all of our districts, in all of our schools, and it starts at the top. It certainly starts with the governor. It starts with the superintendent, Mark Edwards, who is not just our state superintendent of the year, but the national superintendent of the year. And what did that spawn? That spawned the state principal of the year out of his district because of great leadership. And what else does that spawn? That spawns great teacher leaders. This teacher compensation issue is about leadership and passion. And it's a very, very, very complex puzzle. It's like taking a puzzle with thousands of pieces and throwing away the box top and asking people to solve it. And a new group comes in every 2 years or 4 years and tries to put all those pieces together, and it never gets completely solved. This step today, this plan today, is taking those pieces of the puzzle and arranging them in a way that we can start to see what the box top looks like. We can start to see what the outcome looks like. This is a piece of the puzzle, and it's moving in the right direction. It's moving in the right direction because just like the rest of the world, just like the rest of our country operates, just like all the businesses in our state operate, they operate off the ability for people to move through their career and see a logical path for their career. Our old plan was so convoluted, a teacher would have no idea what they made, what they were going to make next year, how they were going to make it, or where they were going to be 10 years in their career. Could you imagine if doctors left their career after 5 years because they had no idea how they were going to progress through their profession or how much they were going to make? Could you imagine if our engineers left their profession after 5 years because they had no idea how they could progress or how much they were going to make? Well, that's what's happening in our teacher profession. And this plan today that's unveiled offers an opportunity for teachers to look very clearly at a very simple plan and say, this is how I can become a career teacher. This is how I can stay in my profession for life and be rewarded for doing it. Why would we do anything else? Many of you have heard me say before that I believe that our teachers, our highest performing teachers, should be amongst the highest paid in the nation. This plan allows a teacher to start that process. It's the beginning of a process, but it allows a teacher to start that process. And that's what every teacher should want. And in the end, this is not about teachers. It's about our students. It's about bridging the socioeconomic divide that has existed in this state for many years, and we try to figure out how do we get out of it. Well, rewarding teachers to go to underserved school districts and underserved towns and underserved schools to be able to provide the same opportunity for students anywhere in the state of North Carolina is an awesome thing. And so this plan provides that opportunity, and this is a great step towards making sure that our teachers know how they progress so that our students will be top performers, not just here, but around the world. And this afternoon at 2 o'clock, some of you heard, we'll have another piece of that puzzle, a plan that will be unveiled at a legislative committee where I'll be testifying today. The governor and I have had many conversations about this. It's just another small piece of the puzzle about how we can reward teachers in the future. So we hope you'll stay tuned for that as well for this afternoon. But Governor, again, thank you for your leadership. It's a great plan and it's a great start. Thank you.
All right, let's put this in education terms. To the teacher, we've done the lesson plan. A lot of people have great talent in doing the lesson plan. But one thing I've learned as governor, and I knew this as mayor before, is that it's the execution and the implementation that makes a difference. And we also have to find the money. And we're finding the money because we've made some tough budget decisions. I want to especially thank Eric Buchanan on my left here, who's my education policy advisor, who brought all these meetings together. And how appropriate on my right, Art Pope, who's finding the money. Y'all need to give him a round of applause, Eric and Art. But we've done the lesson plan, but now all of us together have to work together to implement it. And the execution is more important than the plan. And I see some good friends. Mo, it's great having you here from Guilford County. You're doing a great job. I worked with you in Charlotte, and you're a superstar here in Guilford County. And I see my other friends who've just recently come from at the governor's mansion. We've had you over several times, and at the state capitol. We didn't develop this plan. The experts are helping develop this plan. We want to continue to improve upon it, but we want it implemented. And we have to show that plan to the people of North Carolina and to the educators of North Carolina. And now our job is to both implement it, execute it, and sell it. This is our future. Let's make it happen. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
We've got one of our great leaders.